Speaking of the boys, let's go to it. Let's talk about it. We are at the mid-season point for the boys season 4. 8 episodes. We're 4 through, Ricky Flex. Can you believe it? That's what happens when you have a 3-episode drop to start it off. Really gets the hype engine revved up. Ricky Flex, there's a lot of hype with this episode developed by Eric Kripke, saying it might be the greatest performance Antony Starr's ever had as Homelander. He said, give him a goddamn Emmy already. Ricky Flex, is this the best episode, the best Homelander episode we've ever had?
Because the episode is about him. I think he's had better scenes and better acted scenes personally. But similar to the bike rides we were talking about with the jacket and the look and the stills with Austin Butler, the still at the end of Homelander, Antony Starr, in all bloody, has freaking body parts on him and just blood all over his face and in the elevator. That still right there is just iconic already. So I think as a whole, yes, but I'll take the scene in the on the airplane. I'll take that over this. I still think that's insane. That one scene for Homelander was crazy. But yeah, I think this was the best episode for Homelander.
I think this didn't have the best Homelander moment of all time. You might say it's the elevator scene. Every moment in this episode with Homelander felt super cinematic. It felt like the shots were just a lot more intentional and creative with Homelander compared to the rest of the story, the rest of the characters this episode. It didn't have the best moment. I think actually my favorite moment of Homelander, we talked about Flight 237. I think my favorite one is at the beginning of season 3. And I think it's either episode 2 or 3. And it's the I'm better than you speech. I'm stronger. I'm faster. I'm better than you. You're not the real heroes. I am. That whole monologue that he goes on, I think that is in this. That's number 1 for me for best Homelander moment. Him in the elevator here is maybe a close third, right? Third, maybe fourth. But overall, this episode is the best episode that is strictly pretty much circling Homelander, right? I don't think the other scenes nearly packed a punch. We had a little bit of Starlight this episode, more than a little bit. We saw her character taking a turn, or a little bit of a darker side. We're seeing her taking on Firecracker with that reveal of the abortion that she's had. But to stick to Homelander here, it's an episode where Antony Starr, at the end of episode 3, he's looking in the mirror, and then he's convinced he has to go back to where it all started, see where this need for love comes from, okay? The need to be adored by others despite being so superior to humans. I thought it was it's an interesting episode because I found it super menacing and intimidating and suspenseful, almost horror type of vibe in that basement, in that laboratory that Homelander visits. But I also was kind of rooting for Homelander based on the treatment that he took as a child and how demonic these people were, or I guess inhumane they treated Homelander. I was in a mix of emotions, I think, when I was watching the Homelander scenes here. Yes, this guy's laughing maniacally, and he is shoving people into ovens, and it's obviously he's murdering masses of people. But at the same time, these people tortured him as a child. So I think you're supposed to feel a little bit of, I guess, torn emotions here. Ricky.
Ambivalence, yeah. I totally agree. I'll say it. I was rooting for chaos. I love when Homelander's just on edge, going absolutely crazy. And this is great for that. And he had some great I think this is why it's the best Homelander acting and Antony Starr episodes. He had the monologues for each of the top 2 guys, and then with Barbara, and then he had obviously the elevator part, right? But when he's shooting the trash can basketball, and he's let's play, and they're just chit chat, and then he spins it where it's oh, I watched you do this while I was through that window, unbelievable. The way he just, Antony Starr just portrays his character is diabolical. It is insanely good. I love it, and I was rooting for chaos because Homelander's that's when he's at his best.
He is extremely vengeful against these people who tormented him as a kid, and he picks his targets before he even walks in. He knows who's working. He knows who's been around. What is it? Is it Clark and Marty? Like those guys that have like been around for decades, and they know him as John. We find out it's John, not Homelander. Homelander, not John. But excuse me. What Antony Starr does so well, and this is what makes him an iconic villain. He will turn this moment where you think there is some levity and you think that he's kind of having this reunion with the people who raised him, and then he switches on a dime, on an actual dime, and then the sense of seriousness, you can read it on everyone surrounding him, and you say to yourself, oh shit, this just got serious. Oh shit, this person's life is over. And you can see it from the characters that are being terrified of Homelander. And he's doing it in the most fucked up ways. He is burning them in ovens alive. He's shooting their dick off. It's this type of shit that you only see with the boys. Like a guy lasered his dick off, and then you have a shot of Homelander laughing like the Joker in that quick freeze frame. Only the boys could pull off that shot. You will never see that anywhere else. That's like what I'm talking about, where the moments of the Homelander here, Eric Kripke and company went absolutely all in, and it totally paid off because holy shit, I think this is going to be up there. This has cemented the legacy of Homelander as one of the greatest villains in media history.
Yeah, like it's just funny because everyone's like, "Oh, give Antony Starr his Emmy." It's like, oh, like I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I think he does, but it's like, it's similar to the Oscars where it's more like, oh, artsy, but then it's guy shooting a guy's dick off. He's gonna win an Emmy. Like,
are they trying too hard to get him an Emmy here?
It might be like the Iron Man Endgame, try to get Robert Downey Jr. an Oscar type of moment for them.
That's the thing. Where you actually nailed it, and I skipped ahead. This acting is incredible, but when you show it at the Emmy, are you going to show him laughing maniacally from the scene where he shot a guy's dick off? Literally, Ricky Flicks. I wrote down this line because I thought it was hilarious because the scenes were also funny, right? As they're also the most terrifying things you've ever seen. He says, "You're getting the dick blood on my boots, Marty." That's like a quote that he says afterwards in this vengeful sequence. That is nuts to me, And what's interesting too, Ricky Flicks, I kept thinking about this scene. I watched the episode twice, kept coming back to it. The most compelling scenes were in the basement. Honestly, Ricky, I don't really care if we talk about the other shit right now because this is the Homelander episode. He doesn't exactly get what he's looking for, right? He's looking for answers. Like, was his the reason he goes is like after looking in the mirror in episode 3, he wants to find out why he's the way he is. Like, why does he need to be loved? Why does he need the approval of all these different people despite being so superior to human beings? And this episode kind of is that question's answered by Barbara, the person that's the director of this lab downstairs who works with Stan Edgar and Vought. She kind of like has that one-on-one with Homelander where it says, like, you could have broke out of this lab at any time you wanted. You came out of the womb and you were lasering people. You were clearly stronger than everybody and you chose to stay and get tormented. Okay. So for me, it's like these people didn't make Homelander into who he was after that speech. He always was like that, and this was pure vengeance that he gained from this episode, So it didn't really answer the question, just show me how evil the character truly is.
I think he did. It might not have been as clear, and it might not have been an answer now I'm thinking about it. It might just be more of he got his revenge, and whatever answer he's looking for, he no longer needs it, if you want to spin it like that, because when you're in the elevator and it's the scene of him like sighing in relief, it's like, all right, he's free. Like, this burden's behind him. Literally, he killed it. So it's like, you could say maybe he didn't get his answer, but it doesn't matter now. The question's gone. Like, he's no longer asking the question.
He has the PTSD from it, for sure. He has the trauma from those experiences as a kid, And what's so effed up about the last sequence, he puts the Barbara, the director down there, he keeps her alive and kills everybody else in the bad room, And he keeps her alive to witness it all, put her in that room and put her through the trauma that he went through for all those years, but to like a much more haunting level because he has to live with like what she did to Homelander is the reason that all these people are dead, And that's good. That's obviously, that's part of what makes it so evil and vengeful. But she even has the line where she's talking about I think she said, you want your approval from others. You want to be loved. You don't want to let these people down, constantly feeling that weight. And that's where it makes me think he was going to kill these people no matter what, but he didn't really answer that question that was in the mirror. Other things you want to talk about from Homelander this episode, Ricky Flex?
I think that this is gonna just release his unhinginess, like his chaos that I talk about. Like I think he's gonna
Remain
absolutely,
unhinged.
yeah, he's gonna go balls to the wall the rest of the season. Like I love how this was the mid-season episode, because now the first half it's like, oh, he's going through a midlife crisis, he needs to go back home, yada yada yada. Now the second half of this season should be more focused on who's he killing next, who's gonna like the actual what's the actual not like themes behind the show, but what's actually what we've been looking forward to, which is where's Bach gonna go, how's Butcher and him and whatnot. All the different storylines are actually gonna come to fruition now, and with the best Homelander, like the best version of Homelander, which is him being completely unhinged.
Yeah, and him just knowing he's better, right? And we talked about that scene in season 3 where it's like, you're not the real heroes, I am, and asserting himself. And then you talked about it when we were first talking about the 3 episodes, the premiere, and the idea of humans as toys. He was toying with the people in the basement the entire time. The most diabolical scene, I think, and most perverted scene might have been in this episode when he makes that guy jerk off in front of everybody.
During that scene, and obviously the Emmy talk was talking about it leading up to this episode. So watching that scene, and Homelander like is like laughing, but then he's like serious about it. It's like jerk off, jerk off, the jerk off, or like whatever. It's like,
Come on, Marty.
yeah, yeah. It's like you can't play that in front of an Emmy audience.
Such a haunting laugh, though, but it's like you can't show that scene of him just laughing or him
Right.
shouting at Marty, because you need the full context of the scene, and you're just not gonna have that in where you're gonna have a celebration of TV that's seen by like tens of millions of people. You're just not gonna have that, Ricky Flex.